Do you have to look over your back when you run into the store after dark? Or do you live in a nice place where you can leave your front door unlocked when you run an errand? Crime in America is at an all-time low. While there's pockets in the US that resemble third world countries, when you actually look at the numbers, the number of thefts, robberies, assaults, and murders has been going down over the past 50 years. That's pretty refreshing, isn't it? But we're not going to be all puppy dogs and rainbows today, folks. In the cities we're going to talk about, things are certainly lacking in the safe department. So after looking at the number of violent and property crimes since 2010, we're going to bring you America's most dangerous cities. Want to get away? How about Anchorage? Would you have guessed Anchorage is the 10th most dangerous city in America? It's not that surprising when you consider that Alaska is the most violent place you can live in the entire nation. Sure, there's hardly any places in Alaska where people actually live, but in the large clusters of cities that do exist, the odds are higher here than anywhere else that a rape, assault, or murder will occur. That's some scary stuff. Alaska is also third in the nation for number of property crimes as well. Part of the problem in Anchorage is the fact that Alaska is so isolated and remote. A lot of the crimes go unsolved because the police can't get to the scene of the crime fast enough. For many Alaskan communities only accessible by plane, the biggest danger isn't bear attacks like this. It's getting punked by the Eskimo gang. In any event, you piss somebody off in Anchorage and they might get all road rage all over your butt. Baltimore is a very dangerous city. As if you hadn't heard. Believe it or not, this isn't Baltimore residents trying to get the hell out of Baltimore. It's Ravens fans who are so ghetto that they'd climb a fence so they don't have to pay for tickets. Baltimore has the nation's third highest violent rate, meaning there's only 2 other cities in the US where you have a higher chance of being killed, raped, or attacked. This guy says it doesn't matter. Just stay out of his way so he can get his work done. And it isn't just the gang shootings and senseless robberies that the media in Maryland focuses on. Some Baltimoreans are very angry and repeatedly do things to others just for the hell of it. And it also doesn't help that local judges have decreased the incarceration rate in Baltimore by more than 40% either. On the bright side, if there is one, Baltimore only has the nation's 36th highest property crime rating. Yay! Making our way out west, we take a quick stop in the city of Pueblo, Colorado. There's a ton of people in Colorado who defend Colorado, but you can't defend Pueblo. This small city around 100,000 people ranks as the 8th worst place in the nation for property crimes. That means lots of stolen cars, cell phones, and even toys. Now, if you read the forums, it sounds like people who live in Pueblo are pretty defensive about their city being classified as dangerous. Either they're in denial, or they don't really seem to notice how bad things really are in their city. Hopefully the people who do want Pueblo to clean up its act get the support from their law enforcement agencies. When you think of dangerous cities in the South, Chattanooga may not come to mind first, but the numbers tell a different story. It's too bad that for the most part, Chattanooga is a decent Tennessee city. But if you look at specific crime areas, you quickly realize that the vast majority of crime is concentrated in a relatively small area that's easily avoidable. It's literally the other side of the tracks from downtown. And when crime does occur downtown, it's usually a homeless person or a drug addict looking for a quick buck. Meaning Chattanooga criminals aren't necessarily the brightest individuals. Oakland, Oaktown, Bump City, you get the point. While people continue to migrate from San Francisco to Oakland to avoid insane property prices, they aren't moving to avoid crime. Oakland ranks over 30 spots higher than San Francisco on the crime ranking. Oakland has the 10th highest violent crime rate in the country and the 15th highest property crime rate. There's even a Wikipedia page devoted to crime in Oakland. In many areas of Oakland, you don't want to drive through at night. About 80 people a year get killed in Oakland, which is about once every 4 days. If you're young, black, and poor, statistically, you'll look like you're in a gang. And if you're a white guy driving a Prius looking for directions, well, that probably won't go over very well either. If you've ever been to a Raiders game, this is what it looks like in the stands. It also looks like this. Sometimes it looks like this. Continuing our tour of the most dangerous cities in America, we come to Albuquerque, New Mexico. Albuquerque may not be as ghetto as Oakland, but it ranks really high for crime per capita. Did you know New Mexico is also the most dangerous state in the country? It's true. The number of violent crimes per person is the second highest in America in the state of New Mexico, And the number of property crimes is the highest you'll find in America by a long shot. That means there's more robberies, thefts, and break-ins here in New Mexico than any other place in America. Substance abuse and socioeconomic issues are the two biggest problems here. Half the crime reported in the state are all in one place, Albuquerque, where car thefts are at an all-time high. People talk about Florida man being dangerous and sketchy. What about New Mexico man? Heading back to the Midwest, we stop at our fourth most dangerous city in America, Springfield, Missouri. What? The issue here is property crime. Springfield ranks as having the worst property crime per capita of any city in the country. And it seems like things are just getting worse here too. Springfield is also the nation's 12th most violent city too. It's not like Springfield is as bad as Chicago, Detroit, or even St. Louis. It's that statistically, there's a higher percentage of a person in Springfield getting robbed or attacked than in larger cities. Of Springfield's 2,200 violent crime reports last year, 2/3 were aggravated assaults. That means about 1/3 of the violent crime reports were domestic assaults, which took place between family members, roommates, or intimate partners. Too bad jerks like this are ruining it for the majority of awesome people who want to live in Springfield. We go right next door to the next state over, in Arkansas, where we visit Little Rock. Arkansas is another poor state in the South, with a far higher than average number of murders, rapes, assaults, and robberies per capita. If you live in the natural state, don't leave your car doors unlocked. There were more than 7,100 vehicles stolen in the state of Arkansas last year. Little Rock is rough. It's in the top 5 for both violent and property crimes in America. It's always on some list of the most dangerous places in the US for one year or another. For a city of its size, 50 murders a year is sky high. It's not Memphis rough, but in a lot of places it's straight ghetto. If you talk mess about someone's boo, you're gonna get knocked out in Little Rock. No matter what the cops do, Little Rock people just do what they want to do. We need to get the hell out of Little Rock. Back to Tennessee we go, and we visit Memphis, our second most dangerous city in America. Memphis is the largest city in our top 10, and it's also the 3rd most violent of all the cities we're going to talk about. That means Memphis is rough. Memphis just may be the worst city in America in many categories. Residents faced a 1 in 50 chance of being raped, assaulted, or murdered last year, which is a 5% higher rate than the previous year. The cops estimate there's 10,000 gang members in Shelby County too. Why is Tennessee so violent? Like many of the states we discussed earlier, poverty, high drug use, and a lack of solid jobs are all contributing factors. A lot of property crime from druggies and other lowlifes breaking into property, looking for drugs, or money for drugs. Seems like they can't find enough cops in Memphis to deal with the crappy people who make their city such a dangerous one.
Masked crusaders working overtime, fighting crime.
And where's the most dangerous city in the United States? That would be St. Louis. St. Louis ranks as the most violent place you can live in our nation. Have you ever heard of East St. Louis? I mean, that's not even in Missouri, and that place makes small towns look like a fairy tale. Last year, more than 200 people were murdered in St. Louis. That's like 2 out of 3 days that someone here got ghosted. Sure, most of the crimes that happen are between rival gangs and within certain neighborhoods, but that doesn't mean the violence doesn't spill into other parts of St. Louis. Fact is, if you live in St. Louis, you can't really feel safe at all. As the sun sets in St. Louis each day, most of the city's hardworking, church-going, community-loving people are safe, but never really safe. And if you live in St. Louis or any of the other cities we mentioned, you better keep your guard up. And if your city's really safe, then you should be grateful for that fact.